Well, once again, I have a lot to get through, and this video got really postponed throughout the week as more developments came out in the ongoing CM Punk, Vince McMahon, WWE, UFC story as that continued to evolve. As we got more and more information on that, I kept having to push the video farther back just to make sure I got it all in one video. And yeah, the story continues to be interesting, but before I jump into that, I do want to say that at the end of the year, the last video that I'm going to do another question and answers video. Going to be a little bit different format this time compared to how it was last time. The last time I had everybody submit their questions through the YouTube comments down below. That system did not work out too well because YouTube, I don't know, YouTube's just sloppy. Basically, that's the best thing I can say. So, you know, I missed a few comments along the way, and some people got left out. I felt bad about that, but I'm going to do things a little bit better this time. Obviously, YouTube's private messaging system is fucked to hell, which is what I originally used, but now it just makes no sense, so it's not even worth going to the trouble of using that. So what I'm doing instead, I opened up a Gmail account used entirely for the purpose of submitting questions to me. So the email address is down below in the description box. Just send your questions there, and I will get to them in the next question and answers video. Now, same rules apply. Everybody gets to ask one wrestling question and one non-wrestling question. And the non-wrestling question can relate to TV shows, movies, sports, any random thing you want to ask me, whatever. And I'll do my best to answer all of them. So that's that. And that'll be the last video I do of 2014, regardless of anything wrestling related that happens. What else? There was something else. Oh, yes. Earlier this year, as most of you remember, those of you who have been subscribed to me for the entirety of the year, you know that I did a bunch of Godzilla movie reviews. I reviewed the entire series in preparation for the new movie that came out in May, and then I reviewed that movie. Unfortunately, all of the reviews got pulled, and they're blocked on YouTube because I used copyrighted content. I used clips from the movies and music from the movies, and that got me in trouble, so that the videos are blocked. And you know, I did work very hard on those reviews, so it's kind of disappointing to me that they got blocked, and people seem to like them. So what I'm going to do, at some point in December, I'm going to post one giant video with all of the movie reviews, all the Godzilla movie reviews, all in one video, which will probably be like a 10-hour video, because I really went off on some tangents with some of those movies. But it'll all be there. I'll have a table of contents and everything. I'm just going to cut out the movie clips and the music so that they can stand on their own, and you can all jump to whichever review you want to watch or whatever, just to make sure that they're there. Basically, if you've already seen them, it'll be nothing new. It's just I just want to make sure that they're there for anybody that wants to go back and revisit them or whatever. Because again, I put a lot of effort into those, and it's disappointing me that they got taken down. So you'll be seeing that at some point before the end of the year. But that is all I have in regards to updates to my channel. But going into the more current events in pro wrestling, in what can only be described as perfect timing, this Monday we got treated to the Stone Cold Steve Austin podcast with Vince McMahon, which aired on the WWE Network. And I have to say, if the WWE is looking for original content to put on the network, I think that they have something with these style of interviews. Like WWE's own style of shoot interviews, because obviously the hardcore wrestling fan base loves shoot interviews, and we love to get wrestlers' insider take on what's going on. And I think WWE can really capitalize that if they let it be like what this interview was with Austin, where Austin, to his credit, did not softball Vince McMahon. He asked all the tough questions, brought up all the tough issues, and tried his best to get honest answers out of Vince. I'm going to talk about what I thought of Vince's answers later, but I thought Austin was a great interviewer and brought an unbiased quality to everything. And if WWE is willing to present their own shoot interviews in a way to where it's not biased and there's no protective shield, and it's just the wrestlers allowing to be honest, because the WWE has guys on their roster and guys under contract that will never do a shoot interview with RF, or high spots or anything like that, or U Shoot and the various other ones. But they have access to those guys that the other shoot interview companies can't get. They can get Triple H. They can get Vince McMahon and Stephanie McMahon and The Undertaker and I don't know who else, Shawn Michaels and Glenn Jacobs and various other guys. And I think there's something to tap into there, especially if they're looking for original content on the network. I think it could be really interesting, and I think whether you agree with what the answers are or whatever, or whether or not you walk away from the interviews hating the guy even more or liking the guy anymore or whatever, I do think that there is something there that the WWE can tap into and possibly provide a fresh new attraction for the network, while also presenting good content. And that's another thing. I would much rather watch a WWE style shoot interview that was honest and allowed the guys to be honest with no restrictions, than a dumb reality show like Legends House. But that's just me. So I thought the whole thing was very interesting, and it was very cool to see Austin present the interview the way he did. What did I think of Vince's answers? I think CM Punk's right. The guy is wildly out of touch. To hear what he said about Cesaro, my jaw dropped. It was like, he has a European style that doesn't connect with the fans. And I'm like, he typically has some of the more exciting matches on the show on a regular basis. And with you doing nothing with him. I mean, he went out there on a pay-per-view a couple months ago and had a match with Sheamus that had no business being as good as it was because it had no build-up, no setup, no anything. And it was, Cesaro is typically one of the better workers in the company, so I didn't get that. I didn't understand how, Cesaro doesn't have it, or Cesaro is doing this wrong or doing that wrong and he can't get over and all this other stuff. It's like, I thought he was getting over just fine until you started squashing him and took Paul Heyman away from him with no explanation and did a lot of other things with him with no explanation. So whose fault is it really? But again, it shows that Vince is a little out of touch. And some of his Randy Savage answer was very interesting because it feels like he wanted to just kind of skim over it, not really address it. He said, yes, he's going to go in. Next question. And, with Savage, you always have to wonder, is the Stephanie McMahon rumor true? Part of me that thinks it is true is that, A, Vince's response to the whole thing, B, the fact that he's forgiven so many other people, like Sable and Brock Lesnar, and, him and Bret Hart were able to bury the hatchet, him and Ultimate Warrior were able to bury the hatchet, and all those other things. And Savage just kind of gets swept under the rug. So, I don't know. I know they just released a Randy Savage DVD. I've not had a chance to watch it. But, I don't know. The whole thing with Savage and Vince has just been really, really strange. And the Stephanie McMahon thing, the rumor that Savage slept with an underage Stephanie McMahon, the part of me that makes me think it's true is that I did see a documentary on wrestling managers made by the WWE. It was one of their DVDs, and this was I want to say this was back in 05, 06 when this sucker came out. And they talked about Miss Elizabeth, and there's a part on there where Stephanie starts talking about Miss Elizabeth and how she idolized her and wanted to be like her and all this other stuff. And I'm like, ooh, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. It's really weird, but so his answers on that were weird. His answers with Punk were very interesting in that Punk went off on the second podcast and said that it was basically a PR stunt for Vince to say what he did. But me personally, and this is coming from somebody who wildly disagrees with Vince on a ton of things, like John Cena being the only one that's grabbed the brass ring, and it's like, what is John Cena doing that nobody else is doing? It's really just bizarre. I don't know. And I'm not even bashing Cena. It's just I've seen guys get over and work hard and do all these other things. And Punk even said on the podcast that it's look, I do Make-A-Wishes too, and so do most other guys. It's just that they only promote Cena doing it. It's kind of like when they first started doing the breast cancer thing. The first year they did it, Cena was the only one that had any breast cancer merchandise. And it's what the hell is that, And so I would love to know what John Cena is doing differently from everybody else, that nobody else has apparently grabbed the brass ring or anything like that or whatever. It's I don't know. It's just I don't know, or if maybe it's just Vince being weird. I don't know. But his answers on Punk and his response to Punk and his explanation of it, I believe personally that Vince McMahon likes CM Punk and he sees the value in him as a talent. And a lot of what happened, I think Vince was sorry to lose him. to be perfectly honest. And, Punk's not going to see it that way, obviously, but as he elaborated in the second podcast. And the second podcast was with Punk and Cabana was good, but it wasn't as earth-shattering as the one last week was, so it's not a whole lot to really comment on there. The Shield story was very interesting, that's for sure. It's like, yeah, I gotta make Roman Reigns look strong even though I'm beating him in a 3-on-1 handicap match. Okay. Which, I said the same thing back when that match happened. I was like, why is Punk beating 3 guys? That's silly. That's really silly. But, anyway. I do believe that Vince likes CM Punk and really wanted to keep him under contract and really wants him as a talent. And I think there's regret there. And Punk can say it's a PR move, and I think Vince McMahon is totally out of touch, and I think he's totally insane, and I think this interview kind of proved it. But I do believe that there's a genuine, Vince is sorry about what happened with CM Punk and he wants to repair that relationship. It's just, he's just, it's just things turn out the way they did, and apparently the WWE is just bizarrely managed backstage, and it was not conducive to CM Punk's personality type. But speaking of CM Punk, major news breaking this weekend: CM Punk has now signed with UFC and will be having fights with UFC. That is fascinating. That is really interesting. I don't know how well Punk is going to fare in a shoot fighting realm. I wish him the best. I think it's going to be very interesting. I think a lot of wrestling fans are going to check out the first time he fights for UFC just to see what happens. And good on him. I think it's, he's pursuing what he wants to do. He's writing comic books. He's doing all these other things. He's doing the stuff that he wants to do, and I think that's commendable. And whatever makes you happy. So I wish him all the best, and I think it is very shocking and very interesting. So I definitely look forward to seeing how that develops over time. And I will be checking out that first fight just because it's CM Punk's kind of a lightning rod at this point. So it'll be interesting if he actually fights as CM Punk. That'll be really cool, actually, if he keeps the name for his MMA fights. But I hope everything goes well for him, and I hope he gets everything out of it that he wants to get out of it. And here's hoping. And that's all I have for you now. So just as a quick update, I do plan on having another video out either Tuesday or Wednesday, and that video will preview both NXT, the next TakeOver special, NXT TakeOver Our Evolution. I do want to talk about that, and I do want to talk about the WWE's last pay-per-view of 2014, which is TLC. Well, I guess it's TLCS now, which I'll talk about that in the next video. And of course, as I said, submit your questions to me. The email address is down below in the description box. So submit your questions. You get 2 questions, 1 wrestling, 1 non-wrestling. And that's how that's going to work. But until then, I will see you all later, so peace out.